Hi, I'm Sage, and I have the wackiest condition on the planet. Every time I want to cry, I end up laughing instead. Yikes. Have you ever laughed at the wrong moment and it's been super awkward for you? Well, that's my life. Every single day. At first, my parents thought I was the happiest baby in the world because I laughed at everything. When I started teething at 6 months, instead of crying because it hurt, I'd keep my parents up all night because I couldn't stop laughing. And when I started crawling and bumped my head everywhere, I'd just burst into giggles. That's when Dad started calling me a weirdo. He hated anything unusual. What kind of kid does that? There's definitely something wrong with her. She's a crazy baby and it's embarrassing. She clearly can't help it. Can you, baby boo? But Dad didn't listen. He really started to hate me, and it wasn't just for laughing. Ever since I was a kid, I'd loved to color and paint. When I was 4, I spotted his brand new laptop and thought it was such a dull gray. So I painted the lid a bright red and each key a different color. I thought it looked beautiful, but Dad nearly had a stroke when he saw it. Who's gonna fix this? She's such a pain. Why couldn't you give me a normal child? Even though I was just a kid, his words stung, so of course I burst into laughter, which just made him angrier. But it wasn't just Dad. Everyone misunderstood me all the time. One day in 1st grade, Monica, the richest girl in my class, was crying because her dog was stolen. You lost your dog? What kind of a person steals a dog? That's so sad. Everyone hugging her turned to me in shock. Monica looked at me with sheer hatred. Get out, Sage, you're so mean! After that, I became the mean witch in class. Everyone started picking on me, especially Monica. And no matter how hard I tried to explain that I didn't mean to laugh, no one seemed to believe me. I wanted so badly to be normal. I started watching the saddest movies, listened to the most heartbreaking songs, and read the newspaper to get all the worst news. Nothing helped, because I still burst into giggles at my grandma's funeral. I was actually so sad. I loved my grandma. But as I cackled away, everyone stared at me like I was crazy, and I ran off. Over the years, Mom came up with a way to cheer me up. Every time Dad got mad at me, she put $1 in a jar in my room. By the end of each month, I had enough money to buy art supplies. But obviously I hid this from Dad because he didn't want to spend a single cent on me. In the 6th grade, I entered an art contest in school. I worked really hard to make a nice painting with my cheap paints and paper. But as soon as Monica saw I was participating, she just had to one-up me. She took classes with a fancy art tutor and brought her expensive canvas and paints. She won by a landslide. I was so disappointed that I wanted to cry. So, in the crowded hall, I burst into laughter instead. The art teacher turned to me confused. What's so funny, Sage? Are you making fun of Monica's work? No, I swear. She's just laughing because she's a sore, crazy loser. Well, I had a bad reputation back then, and everyone thought I was mean. I stopped entering art competitions after that. I stayed in my room all day, and nothing Mom did cheered me up. After my homework, I'd spent the rest of the evening painting away and posting pictures to my art account on Instagram. Until one day in 8th grade, I got a really unexpected message there from a stranger. I just loved your painting. I want to buy it. Will you take $150 for it? Someone wanted to buy my painting? For the first time in weeks, I was flying. When I got the money from selling it, I bought more supplies and started painting my butt off. For the next few months, everything I made got sold immediately. I was so over the moon. So one day in the cafeteria, while Monica was going on and on about her fancy French art teacher, I casually mentioned I'd sold 10 paintings for $150 each. Monica was livid. She practically choked on the caviar she was eating. There's no way you and your trashy art will sell on my watch. Oh, and how do you think you're gonna stop it? You'll see. And just a few days later, I did see how low Monica could go. Someone stole my sketch pad from my bag. And right after, a new Instagram account sprung up with all my artwork on it. I knew it was Monica, obviously. I ran to complain to my teachers, but I was pretty upset and couldn't stop laughing. So they all thought I was joking. Why would I do this when I'm so much better than her? Monica convinced everyone that I was a jealous liar who tried to frame her. And then she and her minions started blaming me for all kinds of things I'd never done. One day, she put super glue on the teacher's chair, and when the teacher got up, the chair was stuck to her butt. As everyone started giggling and she tried to pull it off, her skirt ripped. Monica pointed straight at me. I saw her with the glue. You can even check her locker. As everyone stared at me accusingly, I laughed until my stomach ached. And that's how I started ending up in detention every week, because teachers thought I was rude and a troublemaker. At first, I was furious, but suddenly I realized I loved detention. No one could bother me here, and I could paint in peace for hours. As I was busy painting one day, someone tapped me on the shoulder and I turned to see a boy who gently wiped my cheek with a tissue. You had some paint on your face. I just stared at him like a dummy. Who was this cutie? I've seen your paintings and they're amazing. Well, you're amazing. Do you think you could teach me? Eugene was a new boy at school who got stuck in detention often because he'd always prove his teachers wrong. I became his detention art tutor. He was really kind and clever, and somehow he didn't judge me for my laughing. I don't think you're crazy or mean at all. It could be a medical condition, you know? Maybe my dad can help. He's a neuroscientist. I did go see his dad one day without telling my parents. He explained that I had a condition where my brain would get the wrong signal when I felt sad, and my body's response was laughing instead of crying. He said it wasn't in my control at all, and I never needed to feel bad about it. A week later, Eugene made an adorable hand-painted card to ask me to go out with him. Of course, I said yes! One day, I was putting away my stuff in the locker when Eugene came running to me excitedly with a poster for a national art contest. You should enter this, Sage. You're really talented. I'm sure you can win. Just then, I heard Monica's nasty voice behind us. Ew, why are you telling this crazy loser that she's talented and raising her hopes for no good reason? Because he's my boyfriend, that's why. And why are you even talking to him? My step-cousin is your boyfriend? Are you out of your pea-sized mind? It's my turn to laugh at you. But I'd had enough. I pulled Eugene close and gave him a long, steamy kiss right in the middle of the corridor. My eyes! My eyes! Ew, I can't watch this. Oh, no problem. We can just make out in the janitor's closet. And with that, I dragged Eugene into the closet while everyone was hooting outside. Obviously, both of us got detention again, but we didn't care. That was our happy place anyway. I started focusing on the upcoming competition, and I was really pumped for it. With my Instagram sales, I'd even made enough money to buy good quality materials. On the day of the competition, as soon as I started to unpack my supplies, I knew something was wrong. I started laughing. This could not be happening. My tubes of paint had been squeezed almost empty. Just then, I spotted Monica staring at me with a big, evil grin on her face. I couldn't give up. I wasn't going to let her bring me down. I did the best I could with whatever little paints I had, and miraculously, I won. But as I got off the stage with my trophy and a $1,000 check, Monica walked up to me. You think you can fool everyone, but I know you're just a big fraud. I was wondering who that idiot was who keeps commenting on your Instagram and buying your paintings. And well, I had them tracked down. All this time, you've been pretending to be a great artist when your mommy has been buying your lame art. What are you talking about? Go on, run home and ask Mommy Dearest. Monica was just a lunatic. But when I got home, I saw something that made me actually like Monica more than my own mother for a minute. Mom was carrying something down to the basement. When I followed her, I saw that every single art piece that I'd ever sold on Insta was lying there. Mom, are you my mystery Instagram buyer? She turned to me in complete shock, and then she started to cry. Yes, it's me. You were so sad after losing that contest, and I just wanted to encourage you. You lied to me. All this time, I thought I was actually good enough. Honey, you are really good, and that's the truth. I only bought these paintings to make you believe in yourself. You what? We turned around to see Dad in the doorway, looking beyond furious. You're telling me that you spent my money just to make her feel more talented? I want every cent back. Give it back to me right now, Sage. Just then, he spotted the check in my hand and leapt forward to snatch it, but Mom stepped in. Don't you dare. It's her money and her talent. Well, it's my house, and I want you both out of it. Mom and I spent the night at Grandma's. The next day when we went back home, hoping Dad would have come to his senses, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He'd thrown all my paintings in the yard, and he was driving over them. Mom, I'm not staying here another minute. Dad doesn't love us or care about us, and he's a maniac. Let's just leave him. We can manage on our own, I promise. We took all our stuff and moved to Grandma's for a while. After graduation, I worked super hard and built a new website to sell my art. Mom found a new job, but in another city. I was really sad to leave Eugene behind, but I knew Mom needed me. We tried to make it work long distance, but with work and school, it was really hard. Eventually, we both decided to call it quits. I laughed over my broken heart for days. Eventually, I got into a great art college on full scholarship and had my projects exhibited in many galleries over the years. On graduation day, I broke down into fits of laughter 5 times during my valedictorian speech. Soon after, someone emailed me saying they wanted to be my agent. We set up an interview at the cafe the next day. When I saw the agent, my heart stopped. Eugene! Ha! I knew you'd be surprised. I ran up to him and gave him a hug. He said he'd been following my work, and he couldn't wait to represent me. He booked me for shows that same week. During the last one, he whispered in my ear, I made a painting for you. Do you want to see it? I followed him to the end of the gallery and saw a painting of me and Eugene sitting in detention at school. I felt so moved. Suddenly, I felt something I'd never felt before. Wet tears streaming down my face. Was I finally crying? It was the best time of my life because that's when I fell in love with you. Sage, do you want to be with me again? I threw myself in his arms and gave him a kiss. Yes! Eugene was actually so excited that he'd made me cry. This had to be the weirdest romantic moment ever. 2 years later, we got married. We have 3 children, and the youngest, Freya, is just like me. No tears, only laughs.
Mom, am I weird? Everyone else gets to cry. Why can't I?
No, you're strong and you just laugh everything off, even when things are hard. You're not weird. You're absolutely okay. I made sure that not only her, but none of the kids in her school would be bullied. I studied to be an art therapist and started after-school programs for kids to help them channel their emotions into art. Little by little, I tried to make things better for our kids every day.
Hi there, my name is Mishka, and for the longest time, I was the only girl in my whole village. Before we continue, please hit like and subscribe. My village was stunning and bountiful, but for ages, our people thought this land was cursed. Before me, no girl had been born in this village for 50 years. Everyone just kept giving birth to boys. Some couples had 14 babies just to get one girl, but they all failed. The villagers had to find women from other towns, like my mama, to marry their boys. They were beginning to think Mother Nature had abandoned them, when one day, my mother finally gave birth to a baby girl. Me. The whole village wept with joy and relief. The curse is finally lifted. The divine feminine has returned. The day of my birth was declared a holiday, and I became the town's princess. People came to worship me, taking turns to kiss my feet and be blessed with a daughter themselves. I was made to sit on every pregnant woman's lap. They thought my magic would turn the unborn babies into girls. Being a girl wasn't my only talent. I stunned the entire village when I uttered my first word at only 6 months old. By the time I was 4, I could read long paragraphs. The princess is a genius. I was too precious to be sent to school, so expert tutors were brought in from other cities just for me. Shockingly, I was smarter than most of them. One time, my teacher tried to eat a random mushroom growing in the dirt. I slapped it right out of her hands before she could take a bite. There's white stripes on the stem. That's poison. She ran through the town screaming, The princess is an angel. She saved me. She saved my soul. The entire village worshipped me even more now. If I was spotted, everyone would fall to the ground and start bowing. People showered us with gifts and jewels that filled our vaults to the ceiling. One man even gave away his sons to become our servants for free. Take 2 of my boys to serve our precious princess. I don't need these 2. I have a lot of them. At first, I kind of enjoyed the attention, but as I grew, I became more beautiful, and that's when things started getting crazy. One day, my teacher told me about a special new library full of books. I can take you there. Jump into my cart. I want my mama to come with me. She grabbed my wrist. Come on, princess. You don't need mama anymore. She tried to cover my mouth and I bit her. Ah! Ah! Mama! My screams echoed in the mountains and the villagers jumped on her. I want the girl for my son. She will give birth to girls. Give her to me. She wasn't the only one losing it. Fights between angry villagers started breaking out in front of my house every day. They were fighting over whose son I would marry. The village was breaking down into chaos. We had to put a stop to this. When I turned 10, the village elders declared that a contest would decide my future engagement. All the boys in town would compete, and I would get to make the final choice when I turned 16. Mama, this sounds weird. This is the only way to keep peace in our village, Mishka. Don't worry. We'll be with you the whole way. So, every few days I was dressed and primped to perfection to attend the marriage contest. Archery, hunting, sword fighting, mathematics. There were several levels for the boys to compete in. I was so bored. All I did was sit there and look pretty. I was really starting to wish I was a boy. They got to play games and run free in the village while I was caged like a bird. When I turned 12, I put my foot down. I want to go to school, Mama. It's too dangerous, Mishka. I'll dress up as a boy. I'll wear a wig. Please, Mama. I need a life. After a lot of begging, she accepted my request. She bought me a wig and helped me pick out boyish clothes. Soon enough, I was ready to start my second life as a boy. I was so nervous on my first day. What if someone found out about me? I should have been more worried about the school bully, Carl. Once he saw me, he said, "Do everything I say, or we'll throw you in the lake." What? I refused his orders, and he actually threw me in the water. He was horrible, not just at school, but also during the marriage contest. He said, "My stunning princess, if you choose me, all of my lands will be yours, and all of my body." Ew! I would never choose a horrible bully like him. One day when he threw me in the lake just for fun, again someone came to help. It was Ren, the son of the village chief. He was really quiet and aloof, and he was the only boy in the town who had refused to participate in the marriage contest. Thank you, I said in my best manly voice as I took his hand. Suddenly he started staring at me like I was a ghost. Your hair. I touched my head and nearly screamed. My wig was gone. My long hair was loose right in front of Ren. You're the princess. I ran out of there as fast as I could. I was finally caught. What was I going to do? When I went to the marriage contest the next day, I was literally shaking. Did everyone know my secret already? I was stunned when everything was just normal. No one suspected me or accused me of anything. Had Ren not told anyone? Why would he do that? Not only was Ren keeping my secrets, he started following me around in school to make sure no one would mess with me. I told him I could handle myself, but he'd always say, "I'm the chief's son. It's my job to protect the princess." One day I just snapped. I'm not a princess. I'm Mishka. If you're here because you think I'm blessed or something, you can just go away. I don't think you're blessed, but you could get hurt if anyone finds out about you. Was he actually just nice? I started trusting Ren, and before I knew it, I was actually falling for him. He was the kindest, strongest person I'd ever met. One day I lost all control and I kissed him. I was so amazed when he kissed me back. I didn't want to do that stupid contest anymore. I just wanted to be with Ren. At the next event, I made a public announcement that the contest was over. People went mad with rage, but I ignored them. Surely they'd get over their disappointment soon enough, right? Wrong. One day, some unexpected guests showed up at home. The entire town, with Carl and his family standing right ahead. They had pictures of Ren and I kissing and hugging. She has been pretending to be a boy to enter the school, and she chose a husband without the consent of any of the villagers. No! None of you have any right to choose who I marry. You're the only girl. We own your future and your destiny. You own nothing. I'm not just a girl, I'm a person. I slammed the door shut and ran up to find Mama. When I got there, I found her puking on the bathroom floor. Mishka, I'm pregnant. Holy wow. 9 months later, Mama gave birth to a new baby, another girl. The whole town rejoiced at Kira's birth, and they started worshiping our family even more. I thought another girl would set me free, but Kira being born was one of the worst things ever. As she grew up, Kira learned about our village's history. She realized that if it weren't for me, she would be the only girl in this village. I wish you were never born. Then all of this would be mine. She would lock me in a room every time Ren came over the house. Why should you get the chief's son? It's not fair. Open the door, Kira. Only if you dump him. Kira tried to get rid of me about 100 times a year. Fake jobs out in the city, framing me for theft so I would go to jail. She tried everything. She was my baby sister, and I was never going to go against her, but she had no problem going around the whole village bad-mouthing me. Carl and his family joined her happily. Mishka is a fake. She wasn't even born in this town. People actually believed her lies. My parents got threatening letters asking them to remove the fake princess. One day, Kira broke all her limits. She showed up to her house with a whole crowd of angry people carrying torches who demanded that I leave our village forever. I told them to eat dirt, and my sister tried to drag me out of the house. That's when the rest of the town showed up. What are you doing to our princess? She's a fake. She's adopted, and she needs to leave our village. We saw her being born, you idiot.
You're the idiot.
You. Before I knew it, the entire village was at war. People pitched tents in our yards to sleep there so they could protect me the entire day. The chief tried to settle the dispute, but they refused to calm down because Kira would keep riling them up. I will not live with this fake. We need to split the village in half. What? Draw a line through the village. You take one half, I take one, and we never see each other again. No matter what I tried, I couldn't change her mind. It took months of deliberation, but we finally managed to create the line, white chalk that divided our land's resources. I took the people that trusted me and began my own village. We are going to do things differently from now on. We will learn and improve our village. While I took an oath to change things, Kira wanted things just the way they were before. She restarted the marriage contest in her village. She loved being the judge. She could dress like a queen and have men fight over her. While my home stayed the same, Kira built a castle just for herself. She made the boys do it to prove their love. I focused on building schools, playgrounds, and filling up our libraries. One day, a little boy came to me and said, "Princess, I want to see the stars." "Sure you will. I promise." So I bought them a telescope. The princess